Hey, what's up guys? It's Apollo Uchiha here, back with another part of What If Naruto Was in a Political Marriage. This is the part 4 of this series. Before continuing our story, I would like to thank you guys for reaching 596 subscribers by the time now, the recording of this video. I hope we can cross 600 after this video is finished and 700 by the end of this month. It really means a lot to me, and if you like my content, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. It keeps me motivated and helps me a lot. So without further ado, let's continue our story. Chapter 7: The Confrontations. After Naruto went out of the house to meet up with his team, it wasn't long before everyone else was awake. This stemmed mostly from Kuretsuchi snoring. It was really fucking loud, so loud in fact that after Fu was woken up, she immediately threw her pillow at the sleeping teenager, as they were the one sharing the room with the twin beds. Kuretsuchi continued to snore. Temari, who had bags under her eyes, banged open the door and proceeded to take the pillow that was on Kuretsuchi to continuously bash her body with it. Kuretsuchi continued to snore. Vegito walked into the room next, grabbing Kuretsuchi's ankle and pulled her out of the bed. Kuretsuchi awoke with a start. She had a headache, a sore body, and really wanted to go back to sleep. Her head fell back onto the floor and she closed her eyes. Kuretsuchi continued to snore. They all had bags under their eyes. They were all extremely annoyed for a variety of reasons, and they all looked at Kuretsuchi wondering what they could do to her. And that was how they all woke up to their first morning of married life. After everyone had sufficiently woken up, they went to get some breakfast. Then they all sat at the table, eating slowly, married in awkward silence. "Well, this sucks," Kuretsuchi said, summing up the situation perfectly. "Be quiet." This comment came from Temari, who had a pounding headache. "Who shoved a kunai up your ass? If another thing comes out of your mouth, I'm going to shove my battle fan so far down your throat you'll be coughing wind. You wanna put your money where your mouth is?" Temari glared at her, but did not rise up to the challenge. Temari was in a really bad mood, but that didn't mean she was in a bad mood for killing. "Will both of you shut up?" This came from Yujito. "Christ, I am surrounded by children." Yujito wasn't in a practically good mood either. They sat in silence after that. So Fu ventured. "So what?" Kuretsuchi said tiredly. "So shouldn't we get to know each other better or something?" "Why? Because we're all married?" Fu spoke in a deadpan tone. No one spoke up. There was a knock at the door. Yujito answered it and was greeted by the messenger ninja. "Yujito Ni and Fu, you are requested to meet at Training Ground 7 by Killer B." "Okay, just a sec." She went back to get Fu and they both followed the ninja to Training Ground 7. "But where are we going?" she asked. "Training Ground 7. Why?" "No clue." This left Kuretsuchi and Temari alone. "So what now?" Kuretsuchi asked. "I'm going to an empty training ground to let off some steam. I'll join you." Temari looked slightly displeased but didn't deny it. Link break. Training Ground 7. After the connection serving, Fu, Yujito, and B were sprawled on ground after getting expelled from their mindscape. Gaara would be too, if not for the sand that caught him. Jiraiya looked on with raised eyebrows. "Does that usually happen?" Fu asked. "No, not that I've experienced," Yujito replied. They all got up and looked at Naruto, who was still standing with his eyes closed. "Is there something wrong with him?" Gaara asked. Just as he said that, Naruto's eyes shot open. "Are you okay, Brad?" Jiraiya asked. "Yeah, I'm good. Maybe we should get you to Tsunade." "Nah, I'm fine." Naruto looked at B. "Anything else?" B shook his head. This was one freaky little kid. Naruto looked up at the sun's position. It wasn't even noon yet. He looked at Jiraiya. "What now?" "I have to meet up with Baki," Gaara said. "Yo, I have to talk with you, bro," B said. "And I have to report to Tsunade," Jiraiya said. He didn't really have to do that. He just saw it as a golden opportunity to get Naruto to socialize with his wives. Naruto looked at Fu and Yujito. Do you guys have anything to do? They both shook their heads. How about I show you around Konoha? You mean a ramen shop and the top of the monument? Fu asked cheekily. You are never going to let that down, are you? He asked. Nope, she smiled, and he smiled back sheepishly. Yujito looked at them, interacting. It's almost like they're acting like friends, she thought. Did you two know each other before the meeting at administration? She got her earlier than you did, so I showed her around Konoha. A ramen shop and the top of the monument, she repeated. I was working on very little time. He cried in indignation. Fu giggled. I'm married to this guy, Yujito thought. Link break. Konoha proper. As they walked around, he pointed out various landmarks, the clan compounds, the markets, the residential areas, the training grounds. It was proper tour. One which hit a snag named Ino. Hey Naruto! Ino cried out, while waving her arm to get his attention. She was standing next to Shikamaru, Choji and Asuma. She ran up to him, with the others following behind her at a more sedable pace. I thought you and Sasuke were on a mission, she asked. Oh, they went on a mission this morning, but I was left behind. Oh, she said in a depressed tone. She was hoping that Sasuke was still in Konoha. Hey Naruto, Shikamaru asked, who had caught up by now along with the rest of the team. Yo. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed. Why is Naruto walking around with a waterfall Konoichi and a cloud Konoichi? They shouldn't have any business in Konoha. Who are your friends? He asked. Oh yeah, this is Yujito and Fu. He gestured to them respectively. And they are Shikamaru, Choji, Ino and their sensei Asuma, Sarutobi. He gestured to the members of Team 10. We just got back from a C-rank mission, Ino said. We're going to celebrate at a barbecue place. Wanna come with us? Choji added while munching on his chips. Naruto looked at Yujito and Fu for confirmation. They both shrugged. Sure, he answered. They began walking to the barbecue place at a comfortable pace. So what are a cloud and a waterfall Konoichi doing in Konoha? Asuma asked amicably. Yujito adopted a sullen look, while Naruto and Fu both sported bright blushes, which didn't go unnoticed by Asuma and Shikamaru. We're here for peace talks, Yujito said plainly, and I'm escorting them around Konoha. Peace talks? Asuma said in an astounded tone. How long were we away? Long enough for me to get married to someone half my age, Yujito thought to herself. Tsunade said that she's announcing what's happening at the peace talks at her inauguration in a week. Naruto said, I thought that the peace talks were still going on, Fu stated. Well, I wouldn't know. I'm just a lollygagging. Tune in, Yujito corrected. Team 10's eyes widened. Naruto, you got promoted? Ino asked incredulously. Yeah, just keep it on the down low for now, Ino. Why? Because it has something to do with what Tsunade is going to announce at her inauguration. Why would your promotion be something to announce at her inauguration? Shikamaru asked. Look, can we just drop the subject for now? Okay, man. Link break. Training ground 34. Kuretsuchi and Temari were on the ground, gasping for air. They were both running on low reserves after what they did to that forest. The poor forest. When they both arrived there, Kuretsuchi thought that Temari wanted to spar against her. She was proven wrong, however, when Temari blasted a war cry, swung her fan, and released a gale of winds and cuts with Wind's chakra inside at the tree line. Kuretsuchi shrugged and threw a jutsu out that skewered the trees that were on the ground with spikes of rocks. About an hour after continuing to commit their genocide, they were on the ground gasping for air. The forest at their side didn't deserve to be called a forest anymore, more like a huge pile of twigs and jagged rocks with poisonous quicklime hanging around. You weren't half bad, Kuretsuchi huffed. all hostility to Tamari gone. Apparently, forced destruction was really good release. No, no wonder, no wonder Leaf Ninja were so happy all the time. Thanks, she huffed in return. They stared like that for a while. You right? Tamari asked. Huh? About what you said this morning. This situation that we're in, it sucks. It could be worse. Tamari gave a dry laugh. How so? He could be an old perverted geezer who's peeping on women at bathhouse. Jira sneezed, which alerted the woman at the bathhouse that he was peeping on. Oh, fuck me, Jira thought. All the women started to either brandish weapons or start jutsu. I didn't even know they were konoichis. Tamari gave another dry laugh. Yeah, silver lining, I guess. Kurtsuchi got up and announced, I'm starving. We just had breakfast. I have a quick metabolism, you know. Well, I'm not eating anything. Well, I am. Get up. Tamari grumbled as she complied with the request. Link break, administration building. Tsunade was trying to sign paperwork when Jira entered, battered, bruised, and bleeding profusely. She quirked up, bro. Hey Hime, you fucking pervert. Yeah, he said dismissively. What do you want? Jiraiya. Oh, don't be so cold, Hime. Her stare could melt steel now. Just wanted to talk about Naruto. Is this about the training trip that you were talking about? Yeah. I was thinking that we should take advantage of the alliance and have Naruto circle around the villages to train under the best that they have to offer. I thought that the point of having Naruto go on a trip was so that the Akatsuki wouldn't know where he was at any given time or point, and that you would be there to protect him. Well, I would have to run my spy operation in order to get intel on the Akatsuki movements. But if he continually circles through the villages at a random pattern, that would decrease the risk to the point that I wouldn't need to be there. What makes you think that they'll give him the best teachers that they have? Didn't you tell them about the Akatsuki? The entire reason for the training trip in the first place was to prepare him for them. I would think that the other villages want the Jinchuriki to be as strong as they could be. I did tell them, but they seemed confident in their abilities to fend them off. Well, fuck. Most of this trip was going to revolve around him, training to get a handle on the Kyuubi's power. It doesn't really matter if he has a subpar Genjutsu or Taijutsu teacher. The other villages, Jinchuriki could teach him all that he needs to know. Okay, but how is he going to get from village to village? The teams with the high ration. You neglected to tell me that only one team in all the Konoha knows the high ration, and that's the Hokage's bodyguard unit. The Harishin is an extremely powerful jutsu, one that few could only perceive on a basic level. It would take months to train other units. It's a wonder how the second or the fourth learned how to manipulate it to the extent that it became useful in battle. Can't we just have the team tags places at the villages and contact them with a messenger bird to let them know when and where to teleport to next? Maybe it would be extreme chakra intensive though. Good, then while we do that, you could train more teams in the meantime. Like I said, it's really hard to even understand. It could take a while to find out who would be compatible with it, but it can be done. Yes? Perfect. Then it's decided. In a week, Naruto will go on a training trip that encompasses all of the major hidden villages. Except for Mist. Well, yeah, but they're still having a civil war. It wouldn't be the best environment for Naruto to enter how to control the Kyuubi's chakra. Yeah, I know. So, when are the Kages leaving? We just finished finalizing everything. All the Kages are leaving tomorrow, but they're leaving their companions here. Why? Can't remember something about trust between the nations. You know, Hime, you just created peace between the elemental nations and you aren't even Hokage yet. Not all the nations, but as soon as word gets out about the joint alliance, every other villages are going to want to join in as well. Well, it's not like I created a unified nation, we just agreed to not kill each other anymore. Still, it's close to something that I have spent my whole life trying to succeed in, and on that you accomplished in 2 days. It's mostly due to Minato's stupidity. Whenever an alliance was made between two nations, demands were made between them, which lowered trust and made for a reasonable excuse to try and stab each other in the backs. But with all of the nations together, they got scared to make demands on the individual level, as they might be excluded from the deal for being greedy. With a marriage deal, it allowed for us all to come together at the same time. Is that what happened? That's how Shuzine explained it to me. Is that all? Yeah, we should go out for drinks after this. A party celebrating to do not kill each other treachery. If this is just an excuse to get me drunk? No, of course not, Jiraiya said quickly. Okay then, I'll be at the bar at 7. Which one? The one we all used to go to after a completed mission. Got it, he said as he walked out of the door. Link break. Barbecue place. The barbecue was delicious. This was a common sentiment amongst the participants of the meal, even if it was slightly crowded for only one booth. Naruto, Fu and Choji were eating at extremely fast pace, barely letting the meat cook before shoving it in their mouths. The rest of them barely had any room on the grill to let it cook because most of the space was hogged by the big eaters of the group. Once Naruto accidentally tried to grab a piece of meat that was claimed by Yujito, only to almost have his hand skewered to the grill. Yujito was hungry, tired, frustrated, and just not having a good day. Not only that, but she was also on her period, an affliction which only exponentially increased her ire at the childish antics of her husband. Luckily, he was a proud shinobi of the hidden leaf and prided himself for his ingenuity on the battlefield. That being said, he was lucky to still have a functioning hand. When he looked at Yujiro to give an apology, he was met with glaring yellow feline eyes, signifying the true anger that she was feeling. After muttering an apology, he quickly looked away. Her eyes morphed back to usually before the members of Teen 10 could notice. As a proper apology, he gave up some space on the grill to Yujiro, which only slightly increased her mood. Then Temari and Koretsuchi walked in after scoring the hidden leaf for a good barbecue place. The two made eye contact with the group, which led to an awkward situation. Would the two ignore their presence and get a separate booth, or would they grab some chairs to join them? They already were seated with 4 others, so room on the grill would be minimal if the two joined in as well. But if they got a separate booth, then ignoring each other's presence would only make the situation more awkward for the 5 involved. Their problem was solved for them, however, when Shikamaru looked at what Naruto and Yujiro were staring at. He recognized Temari from his fight with her and noticed that both Naruto and Yujiro were looking at her, meaning that the foreign Konoichi must be having some kind of contact with each other at some point, most likely during the peace talks. Do you know them? He asked. Yeah, was Naruto's nervous answer. Why don't you invite them over? Maybe he might get some information about the peace talks if the Konoichi were all involved here. Okay. Naruto then made a waving gesture at Temari and Koretsuchi. This gesture sealed their fates. They told the waitress that they were going to sit with the others and promptly pulled up a couple of chairs and sat down. Koretsuchi decided that she was going to have fun with the situation. Getting the object of the treachery in deep shit with his friends seemed like the right thing to do right then. Hi, hubby. Team 10's eyes widened while Naruto and Fu started sporting huge plushes. Yuji and Temari decided not to care about it, to just focus on the food. Walking around while looking for a suitable place to eat usually makes people hungry in Temari's situation. She's joking, he said for too quickly. Team 10 did not convinced from his denials. Look, we met at the peace talks, and she really liked to get people embarrassed, and that's it. He quickly fabricated. But why are you embarrassed? Asked. It's a long story, yeah. Okay. She wanted to pry further, but the food was almost all gone, and the little that was left was quickly being claimed by Tamari and Kurtsuchi. A long story wouldn't survive for how long it would take for the bill to come. Kurtsuchi, for the record, was having a really fun time being there. Naruto glared at her, but she just returned it with a mischievous smile. After the bill came, Team 10 and Naruto got split up. It was in afternoon, and Naruto was feeling energetic. What do you guys want to do now? He asked. Why don't we go and train? Yujito suggested. We just got back from training, Tamari said. It wasn't really training, more like venting frustration upon helpless trees. It's okay. We'll just watch, Kurtsuchi said. She had a mischievous smile on her face again, as she felt like she knew where this was going. Okay. Naruto was getting a little nervous at Kurtsuchi's smile. I'm fine with that, Fu said. Link break, training ground 7. You two are going to spar? Yujito spoke to Naruto and Fu. What? You two are going, she spoke louder for clarification. I heard you the first time, Naruto said, cutting her off. I was wondering why, he said at a lower volume. Because I want a good read of your skills, and if I spar against you, you'll die. So you are going to spar against someone roughly your level so I can properly gauge your skill. Kurtsuchi looked slightly saddened. She had thought that the reason that Yujito brought it up was so she could mop the floor with the kid. Apparently not. I'm okay with it, Fu said. Okay, I'm game, Naruto said in return. They both got to the opposite sides of the field. Hajime, Yujito yelled. They both ran at each other. Naruto decided to first go with a jump to get leverage and descending with a downward fist. Fu timed out when the punch was going to land and grabbed it when it got close enough. Since Naruto was in the air, he didn't have any leverage to try to get away from the grab. Fu slammed him on the ground with enough force that created an audible wham sound and promptly climbed on him exposed back to press his arm against it, hoping to force an early submission. Naruto grit his teeth and rose up from the ground suddenly enough for Fu to lose her balance. She fell off, but immediately righted herself and jumped away. Fu stood where she was, and he brushed the dirt off himself. He looked at her and charged again, but this time on the ground, with his arms close to his torso. This time he started with a kick to her side, but she caught it as she was prepared for it, and she used it to try to pull up him to the ground. Naruto was unbalanced but quickly planted his other leg down to yank his leg from Fu. Fu let go as holding on to it would have unbalanced her and given him the advantage. He tried to go for a straight punch, but she quickly caught it, pulled it towards her, turned herself around and flipped forward onto the ground. With Naruto's body used as a cushion, the air was pushed out of his chest and he began scrambling for air. Fu, who hadn't let go of his appendage, quickly put his arm into hold. He managed to gain his breath again and pulled his arm up along with her body and slammed it to the ground. She was light, which gave her maneuverability, but that lightness also hindered her with the ability opponent ma- when op- but that also hindered her when the opponent managed to grab onto her. She quickly let go of his arm to avoid having her body weight used against her and jumped away. Naruto got up and looked at her warily. He was breathing slightly, but she didn't look like at least prayed to bed. She didn't look the least prayed to bed. He put his hand in a cross. He put his hand in the cross shape and called out Shadow Clone Jutsu. Multi bodies of Naruto soon came into existence. If he wasn't able to beat her with skills, he just used numbers. What? He is a ninja. Unfailing fight is their creed. All the clones charged at her. She again timed out when they would reach her, and when they were in sight, she completed some hand seals, put her hand to her mouth, and yelled out, hiding in scale powder. A yellowish powder burst out of her mouth, which quickly refracted the light to blinding levels. All the clones were sufficiently incapacitated while inside the powder. Fu, who had closed her eyes, reached out and quickly jabbed the clone, dispelling them. The real Naruto was blinking away the blur on his vision and saw Fu standing exactly where she was when she had breathed out the powder. After a moment of hesitation, she charged at him while doing head seal, waterfall style, water cutting blade. Water congealed on her fist and spiked out to create a several foot long blade of water. Naruto, sensing immediate threat via skewering, pulled out a kunai and met her blade. The slash that she threw at Naruto were barely blocked and parried away as the sword was much more versatile than the kunai, and she obviously had more practice with it. Naruto slammed some clones at her, with one at his side to help with the Rasengan that he was beginning to form. While she was busy with the clones, he charged ahead with the Rasengan cocked behind him. Fu swung her sword at his arm, and he swung his Rasengan at her sword. The sword tip hit his arm, but just barely missed the vital blood pathways and nerve endings. The Rasengan exploded when it met the sword, causing it to dispel as well. Naruto looked at his arm. It had been sliced, but just deeply enough to bleed a lot, but not deeply enough to seriously hinder his movements. He looked at her, who was standing without any sign of serious battle fatigue, while he was huffing and puffing from the shock of all the hits he received. He needed to end this quickly. She evidently had the same thought as she called out the water sword technique again. Although she had the hand seal of a second time before the water could collect on her first hand, and called out the technique a second time, creating two swords by between 2 feet long each. She fell into a much more fluid body state than she had at first. He spammed a huge amount of clones to hinder her, with one at his side helping him to create a Rasengan. She was destroying the clones in drove and was almost completely out of clones to waste when he finished the Rasengan. She charged at him this time in order to negate his momentum that the jutsu seemed to heavily rely on, and he stepped towards her at the same time. Just as she was bringing her left arm to incapacitate one of his legs and hopefully ending the powerful jutsu, she felt two pair of hands simultaneously grabbing both of hers and painfully jerking her towards the ground. Clones had transformed into rocks and were waiting for her to charge at him again. Naruto was advancing quickly with Rasengan in his hand. She fought with the clones on her right arm and succeeded in stabbing into his chest, dispelling it. She swung the sword at the Rasengan again to dispel it, but it was too late, as he was already in her guard. Instead, it swiped against his back. He shoved the Rasengan at the middle of her torso, and immediately ended it as soon it came into contact, which made it explode in concessiveness force onto her torso. She was slammed into the ground, which cracked an impact, unconscious. Naruto was the winner, but he was supporting a nasty gash on his back from Fu's last attack. Yujiro was evaluating both of their fighting styles quietly. Fu is definitely a retaliator fighter, a fighter who mostly uses counterattacks, momentum, and speed against her opponents. She has an interesting array of jutsus which complemented her fighting style and is incredibly fast and maneuverable. However, she's not very strong physically and is prone to falling into traps. Naruto is not as skilled as Fu, but he makes up for his lack of skills with very punishing jutsu, as well as using overwhelming numbers to incapacitate his opponents. He is also really good at coming up with the battle strategies on the fly. However, he rushed into situations without thinking them through fully and needs to know when to advance and when to retreat. Tamari and Kuratsuchi looked on dumbfounded. Neither of them expected Naruto to be this strong. Well, Tamari had seen him fight Gaara, but it was still really weird for her to see that the pipsqueak act so strong, or at least capable. The morning might have been horrible, but the afternoon of their first day of being married was at least exciting. Whew. Chapter 8, The Self, Training Route 7. Yujiro knew rudimentary chakra healing. It was difficult for her to learn due to her huge chakra levels, and she couldn't use anything beyond the scope of simple laceration healing. At the time of her wanting to learn medical healing, she was in the mindset of becoming a well-rounded Konoichi Jonin and making her village proud of her. As she healed the wounds on Naruto's back, which was a slow process, he tried to start a conversation. Hey Yujiro, yeah? What do you fight for? This question caught her unawareness. Well, I fight for the good of my village and its people. No, I meant, why do you fight, I guess? Yujiro thought for a second, then another, sensing that she might not have an answer that was easy to articulate with the words. He gave his own reason to help jog her thought processes. Sorry about the stutter, guys. My mobile screen is kind of cracked and it's quite hard to read with the glasses, so that's why I'm quite stuttering, and as well as English is not my first language. I apologize for that, hope you don't mind. So without further ado, let's continue our story. I fight for the people who are precious to me, he said. Oh, she said in a surprised tone. You are a Jinchuriki from a nation that doesn't really trust Jinchuriki. Who do you have that are precious enough to you that you fight for them? I don't have a lot, but the few I do, I will fight to protect them with my dying breath. Yujiro raised her eyebrow at the seriousness of his tone. Quite the stubborn guy, aren't you? I guess. So why do you fight? He repeated. I don't know. I don't have a reason. Everyone who fights has to have a reason to fight. That's how they can truly become strong, fighting for a reason. Naruto gave the same speech that Haku had given him about true strength. Yujiro was silent for a while. Don't you have anyone to fight for? Not anymore. That shut Naruto up really quick. So what was up with you in the shared mindscape? She asked her own question. What do you mean? Well, when you first went in there, you were talking about how you took that Teme's chakra as rent. But then you started spewing apologies to it. That was quite 180. Silence. I don't know. I guess that when I heard about what he went through, I felt like I could relate to him a little. Pervy says had just given me a speech about understanding, and when the Kyubis told me about the stuff that happened to him, I just kinda reacted. You don't really seem to plan out your moves ahead, do you? Oi, but it seems that it always works best for you in the end, even if the conversation happened to end with the Kyubis ejecting everyone out of the shared mindscape. Oh well, Kakashi sensei did tell me that I was good at coming up with plans on the spot. The healing had finished by the time he was done talking. Unbeknownst to them, Kurotsuchi and Tamari were having their own conversation next to the unconscious Fu. I didn't think that he would have such powerful jutsu, Kurotsuchi said. Truly, a B rank clone technique and an A rank shape manipulating technique was quite the repertoire of ninja technique. He was lacking in quantity but making up for it in quality, which was ironic given his fighting style. I've seen him fight a couple of times before, but it's still really weird to think that he's that strong. He's always so childish otherwise. You seen him fight before? It was it was as the Chunin exam. He beat a Yuga that was said to be the best of our generation, and he didn't even know the Rasengan at the time. Holy shit. He also beat my brother while in his tail beast mode. Gara? Really? How? Kurotsuchi asked. He's also summoning. He's also knows summoning. So he summoned a huge toad and transformed into a likeness of the Kyubi. Really? Him? Apparently he has a huge chakra reserves. Oh, Kurotsuchi's eyes lit up. What? Well, you know what they say about men with large chakra reserves, don't you? She looked at Tamari suggestively. No. What? Tamari didn't notice the pervy leer that Kurotsuchi was giving off. Kurotsuchi leaned really close to her ear and cupped her hands around her mouth. They have huge dicks, she whispered. Tamari gained a huge blush and started spluttering and intangible sounds, all that which Kurotsuchi was almost doubled over in laughter. This woke up Fu and attracted the attention of Naruto and Yujito. What's so funny? He asked, wanting to get on the fun. Nothing, Tamari shouted. Wait, what? Fu asked groggily. Kurotsuchi knelt down, leaned in close and started whispering in her ear. After the tale was done, Fu also sported a huge blush and wouldn't look Naruto in the eyes. Okay, now I'm curious, Yujito said. Kurotsuchi whispered in Yujito's ears as well, not wanting Naruto to hear. Yujito didn't react outwardly when the tale was done. I thought that theory was disproven, she stated. There's a correlation, Kurotsuchi said with a mischievous smirk. What are you guys talking about? Naruto asked, getting frustrated now. Yujiro looked at him dead in the eyes, with the utmost seriousness that a proud jonin of the hidden cloud village could muster. It's about our periods. This statement only made Naruto look even more confused, which set off another round of laughter from Kurotsuchi. Yujiro looked at the situation with a light feeling in her chest. This is actually kind of fun, she thought to herself. She couldn't remember the last time she had that feeling in her chest. The feeling of actually enjoying herself. The sun's position told her that it's about 4-5ish. So what do we do now? She asked. Naruto and Fu were still beat up from their spar and Kurotsuchi and Tamari were still low on reserves from that morning. So that crossed out training. It was late-ish, but not late enough to get dinner. Fu started to gingerly get up. Why don't we go to the hot springs? That sounds like a great idea, Tamari said. The massacre of an entire forest was also good for the soul, but nothing helps people unwind like soaking in hot water. Kurotsuchi, Naruto and Yujito also agreed with Tamari's sentiments. They all started walking towards the hot spring while in a comfortable silence. The trip to the hot spring was going to be a good one for them to unwind and reflect on their day. However, as they all stood in the front of a sign on the hot spring entrance in silence, they waited for someone else to say something. The sign said mixed bathing day. Fu mentally didn't feel comfortable bathing with the opposite gender. Fu physically really just wanted to soak her aching body in some hot water and call it a day. Her physicality won the inner debate. I don't care, I'm going to soak, she said gruffly. She went in and rest followed. Naruto felt slightly trepidation walking in after them, for he had a gut feeling that something bad was going to happen to him. After he had undressed and washed, he put on a towel to cover his sensitive bits and went into the hot springs. Now divided of a divider. Luckily, there were only 4 other people there. Unluckily, they were people he interacted with regularly. He stood at the side of bath looking at them. They were the member of Team 8, unsure of what to do. Hinata was blushing up a storm which Naruto chalked up to the bath heat. Kiba was looking at Naruto with slight confusion. Shino was barely reacted at all. He also had his glasses on, which was really weird, as Kurenai was glaring daggers. Can I come in? He asked. He didn't need to ask. After all, he had already paid to get in. But then the look that he got from Kurenai made him think twice about it. Kurenai continued to glare at him in silence. If you came here to peep on women, like your sensei. What? No. I didn't peep on women, he said quickly. I came here with some friends. Naruto was getting nervous at the look that Kurenai was giving him. Her expression cracked, however. Okay, just stay on that side, she said, pointing to the opposite side of the bath. Naruto quickly entered. So, who are you here with? Kiba asked. Oh, just some friends, he said while Kiba deadpanned. Yeah, I heard you for the first time. I was asking for names. Why are you so interested? He asked defensively. Why are you so defensive? I'm curious. It was at this moment that Yusto walked in and sat down next to Naruto. If you look, she gave a forewarning. I won't. God, why does everyone think I'm a pervert? He said exasperatedly. Because for your sexy jutsu, Kiba offered. That jutsu has real world battle application, he said indignantly. No, it doesn't. You're just a pervert. Yeah, it does, and I'm not a pervert. So you got out into the open battlefield, get everyone to look at you, then you changed into a naked blonde and everyone's out like a light? No, it's supposed to work on an individual level. What if the individual isn't a pervert or a woman? It's a trump card. Keep telling yourself that you just created that jutsu so you could look at the mirror in yourself. What? So you can look at the mirror to see yourself. What? Naruto turned bright red. I never done that once. I am willing to bet a large amount of money that's the exact reason the jutsu was made. It wasn't. It was so. Who is she? Shino interrupted. Naruto looked at Yuito, realization. Oh, sorry, this is Yuito. And these people are Hinata, Shino, Kiba, and Kurenai sensei. He gestured to each of them in turn. Where are the others? He asked Yuito. Still getting ready, she said to him. It's nice to meet you, Yuito said, greeting the occupants. Her chakra is abnormal, like yours, Shino said in monotone. This made her tense up immediately. She mumbled out. Naruto didn't know if Yuito being a Jinchuriki was a secret that needed to be kept. Well, we can't tell you why. Naruto got out with difficulty. Better safe than sorry. I wasn't looking for an explanation. I was just making an observation. This made Naruto and Yuito visibly relax. Oh Christ, Shino, you are a strange one. Naruto said. It felt like he almost had a heart attack. Shino looked on impassively. How do you know Naruto-kun? Hinata said quietly. We met yesterday at the peace talks. He's showing me around Konoha. Peace talks? You're from a different village? Kurenai asked. Cloud. Since when were we having peace talks with Cloud? I thought that we were still on bad terms after the Hyuga incident. The peace talks happened yesterday, and it's a long story as to why it happened, Yusto stated. Entered Fu, Tamari, and Kurtsuchi, who also sat down opposite to a teammate. Fu moaned out when she hit the hot water. I love hot springs. There aren't any good ones in Waterfall, or at least any that would let her in. Waterfall is in on the peace talks as well? Kurenai asked. Waterfall was on good terms with Konoha, but there weren't any formal treaties with it. Huh? Oh, the peace talks. Yeah, Waterfall is there too, she said offhandedly, not really caring at the moment. Yo, I'm Kurtsuchi of Stone, and this is Fu of Waterfall, Tamari of Sand, Kurtsuchi said, introducing the rest of their group. Kiba introduced teammate while Kurenai's eyes went wide. There are peace talks with Stone, Sand, Cloud, and Waterfall? This wasn't just delegation coming to talk about peace, treaties, and trade agreements. This was the formation of an alliance. Yes, Snarty Granny is going to talk about it at her inauguration, Naruto said, sinking into the soothing water of the spring. Should I be talking about this? Meh, I don't really care. Granny owes me, Naruto thought to himself. All of Naruto's group began to thoroughly sink into relaxation. After about half an hour, Kurtsuchi's eyes opened with a mischievous glint, and after about 5 minutes of inner debate over whether or not she should do what she was thinking of doing, she asked Naruto a question. Can you grab me the brush over there? She said, pointing out at the brush. Naruto's eyes opened up. Oh, sure. Naruto began to get up, paying special attention to keep the towel over his sensitive area. Just when he was out of the water, Kurtsuchi pinched an edge of the towel and pulled hard. The towel came off. He yelled in surprise and turned around to face Kurtsuchi, who still had his towel inadvertently flashing all of the occupants of the bath. Hinata fainted and sunk into the water. Kiba's eyes grew wide. Shino didn't look the least bit perturbed, but also went over to make sure Hinata didn't drown. Fu sported a mighty blush. Tamari looked away quickly. Yuichiro stared without a care in the world, and Kurenai's eyes opened up just in the time to see the flashing. Her eyes narrowed just as fast and began to start a genjutsu. Naruto quickly covered himself. No, wait, I don't. Naruto, too flustered to talk, ran quickly back into the locker room area. Kurtsuchi was giggling madly. It wasn't that she wanted to see his junk. It was just that she found extreme pleasure in seeing him embarrassed. She twirled around the towel and looked at Yujito. See, I told you, correlations. Correlations indeed. I'm going to check up on him. He didn't look to be in the best of emotional state when he ran off after all. She went into the locker room only to find a note reading, I'm at home. Yuichiro shrugged, walked back into the bathing area and informed their occupants. Fu looked at Kurtsuchi and asked, don't you think that was a bit too much? Kurtsuchi gained the trademark mischievous smile. Oh, I didn't see you looking away. But that's Fu started to fumble for words. That's what I thought, Kurtsuchi said, ending the conversation. Back with Naruto, we would see him making a few pit stops at various stores before making his way back home. When Naruto's wife decided that they had enough of the hot springs, they headed back home as well. When they arrived, they saw that Naruto was busy himself in the kitchen cooking dinner. It looked good. Chicken, potatoes, and various other greens, all looking like they were cooked or in the process of being cooked to perfection. You can cook? Tamari asked. I just follow the instruction on the book. It's not a big deal. Still, this much? I wanted to make you guys feel a little bit more at home, Naruto responded angelically. A bit too angelically, if you may ask. The food was almost done, so everyone took spots at the dinner table. Naruto mentally marked where everyone was sitting and then brought the food over with a fox like smirk on his lips on the way. The food was really good. It wasn't perfect after all. Perfection couldn't be expected from someone who had just made the dishes for the first time, but it did make everyone feel better and about the arrangements that were forced upon them. It, if only slight. Kotsuchi felt practically guilty for what she did at the ball. She didn't expected him to put it behind him so fast, or that she would make such or that he would make such a delicious meal for all of them. In spite of that, she felt an innate desire to apologize to him, but when she made eye contact with him, she saw such innocent, genuine eyes, the words died in her throat. How could she explain to him why she had done it? I find pleasure in seeing you embarrassed is hardly an acceptable apology. It's a really good thing that she didn't apologize, as Naruto might have felt bad for what was planning to do to her. He still would have done it, but he would have felt slightly guilty about it. So Yuzo, you never did tell us how we did in the spar, Fu stated. Oh yeah. Yuzo paused to swallow the food in her mouth. Well, you, she pointed at Naruto, needed to work on taijutsu or at least the grappling and counter evasion aspect of it. Fu would have won multiple times over before the spar ended with all of the holes she put you in. Yuzo paused again to stuff her face full of food and swallow. And you, she pointed at Fu this time, need to work on foresight or at least consider any traps or ambushes that the enemy might have made. What about Naruto? Tamari said, cutting in. He rushed into every engagement. He only rushed into the engagement when he knew that Fu couldn't have made any traps, such as with the taijutsu engagements. After that, he had clones attack Fu before he went in. Naruto smiled with a mouth full of food and started scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. He hadn't actually done that purposefully. That was just how it worked out for him. Hey Yuzo, asked Naruto, how do I go into my mindscape by myself? You just think hard about it. Okay. Define thinking hard. Stop thinking of anything other than the Kyuubi or the mindscape and you'll get sucked right in. It might be hard for the first few times, but you'll get used to it. Do you have anything to ask about it? No, nothing really. I just thought that the Kyuubi might be getting lonely and would want someone to talk to. Yuichiro and Matatabe have never really conversed other than when necessary. But they both had guardingly respect and trusted in each other. That trust is needed when the tailed beast is given free reign of the mindscape. Although she knew that B and Gyuki talked a lot, she had always thought of B as a very unique shinobi. She was slightly surprised when she heard Naruto basically say that he was going to go on the friendship route with Kyuubi. Well, be careful, the tail beasts aren't the most sociable of the things, okay? At this point, the food was almost all eaten up and everyone had decided to go to bed early, as they hadn't had the best of awakening the prior morning. Everyone went to their rooms and Naruto to the couch again. He put on his trusty penguin sleeping hat and started to sleep. Naruto waited until he heard snoring from Kotsuchi and Fu's room before he snuck in and enacted his plan. Link break. Yuito woke up extremely thirsty and started to wonder whether or not she should learn the confines of her king-sized bed to get some water. However, soon the thirst became so unbearable that she had no other choice than to walk to the kitchen to get some water. On her way back from the kitchen, she noticed Naruto sleeping on the couch, or more accurately, she noticed the position that he was sleeping in. It looked really uncomfortable. He even had a pained expression on his face as he slept. She knew that she shouldn't have just let it alone. But on remembering the dinner that he had made for everyone and his embarrassing scene at the bathhouse, she figured that he could at least use some comfortable sleep. He was just a kid after all. She walked over and tried to position his body in a more comfortable state, which only made it look worse. She tried again, only to succeed in knocking Naruto off of the couch, subsequently waking him up. Huh? Why? Oh, it's you, Yeshita. What do you want? He said in between various states of confusion and sleep. He noticed that she was in her Neko pajamas. You look uncomfortable, so I tried to position you better, she said in a slightly embarrassed tone. Naruto sighed. I'm fine, you don't need to worry. He climbed back onto the couch into a sleeping position which still looked extremely uncomfortable. Look, you can sleep in my bed tonight. Oh, it's fine. No, it's not. That couch looks really uncomfortable. It was it was true. The couch was definitely not designed for being slept upon. If it's really okay with you, just stick to your side and I'll stick to mine. She gave him a small smile. Naruto smiled back at her. Link break. He was having trouble sleeping. He had never slept in the same bed with someone else, so he didn't know the etiquette, as he was busy worrying over what he was and wasn't supposed to do. He didn't notice that Yuito hadn't fallen asleep as well. That's a cute hat, Yuito said in regards to his sleepover. Apparently she was also having trouble sleeping in the same bed as well. Oh, thanks, Naruto said, slightly surprised, as he thought that she had fallen asleep. Having trouble sleeping? Yeah, I never slept in the same bed with someone else before. Neither have I, Yuito responded sleepily. Oh, haven't you had, like, a boyfriend before? Yuito's eyes opened up, realizing her slip of the tongue. Well, when people are scared that you might lose it at moment notice, transform into a giant two-tailed cat and start murdering people, potential suitors stop showing up, she said quietly. I thought Kumo really liked their Jinchurikis. Why don't people think that you would do that? It happened before. Naruto's eyes opened wide in surprise. She sat up from bed, now fully awake. She had a slight sober expression on her face. Don't tell anyone else what I'm about to tell you. Okay, Naruto said in a nervous tone. She breathed out a mighty sigh and started her story. When I was a kid, the third Shinobi War was happening. I was the Jinchuriki of Matatabe at the time. We have a process in which Jinchuriki can attain the full power of their tail beast through a method of self-realization, but children children for some reason can't do that. I was an untapped war asset, so instead I was put through a detestable regime where I would learn how to use the Biju's power. It eventually worked and I was put on a Genin team to help with my lack of teamwork abilities. I loved them. We ate together, slept around the campfire together, laughed together. I finally had friends. Her eyes started to tear up. On our third deployment into the battlefield with 5 other teams, we were ambushed by Leaf Ninja. It was at least 10 to 1 odd. She paused. My friends both died instantly. There were no heartfelt last words. There were no tearful goodbyes. They were just gone. I remember a feeling of pure, unadulterated rage. And that's all I remember of the battle. When I came to, I was being carried back to Kumo by the lone survivor of the conflict, a Jonin that I didn't know. Apparently, I lost it and turned into Matatabe. And I was told that I have killed everyone, even people who were on my side. The Jonin must have told other peoples what happened, because after that, I was held at arm's length by everyone at Kumo. I don't think that I was ever hated after all. I had killed Source of Leaf Ninja. Without me, the entire platoon would have died, and the Leaf Ninja would have continued to live. But with me, at least 100 of the Leaf Shinobi died. It didn't matter how in control of my emotion I had become. It didn't matter that I had accomplished self realization and gained full control of my powers. People didn't trust me, and ever since then I was left alone. Till now. A lone tear slid down her cheek. I trust you, Naruto said quietly. Huh? I trust you. She gave a dry cough laugh. You hardly know me. But still, I trust you. And why do you trust me? I don't know. You just seem like a trustworthy person. Hey, thanks, she said slightly sarcastically. I know what loneliness feels like. It feels horrible, like nobody even accepts your existence, like nobody will acknowledge you. I don't want anyone to tell or feel that pain ever again, Naruto said in the moment of near seriousness. The reason I fight is to protect the people who acknowledge me, my most precious people. If I fight to protect you, you will fight to protect me? He offered a fist. She looked at it for a while. Sure. They bumped knuckles. So, how does it feel? What? Not being alone anymore, Naruto said with a grin that almost split his face. Yuito looked down his smiling visage and said silently, uttered, it feels good. They both lay down to rest and proceeded to have the best night's sleep that either of them had ever had in their respective lives. So yeah, this is it guys for today. I hope you like this video, and leave a like and comment down below if you want more part of this video. And tomorrow I might not upload any video at all, and after tomorrow I might upload the final part of What If Naruto the Regretful Family. So yeah, this is Apollo Uchiha and I am signing out. Peace.